Are you a real estate agent looking to make a brokerage move and you're looking to move to a cloud-based brokerage model? Why? Because there are so many benefits that traditional brick and mortar franchise models just do not have. And we're going to cover all those benefits on this video today, but we are specifically comparing the differences between the hottest cloud-based real estate brokerage in the world right now, Real Broker, versus one of the newest up-and-coming small cloud-based brokerage models that is called ROA, Realty of America. This is gonna be a great comparison because maybe one is better for you, but if you're curious what the differences are, you landed at the right spot. Let's jump in. Now, if you came to this video, you probably arrived at my channel. My channel is all about taking the cloud-based brokerage model and comparing it versus all the different ones that are out there. So let's back up a step. Let's talk about the 5 cloud-based brokerage models that are out there that have some traction at all at this current time. Now let's start with the agent count and go in that order, okay? The number 1 real estate brokerage with the biggest agent count currently is going to be eXp Realty. You're talking about 80,000 agents on a global scale. eXp has been around the longest when it comes to the cloud-based brokerage model. Now let's go to number 2, which is Real Broker. Real Broker is the fastest growing real estate cloud-based brokerage model, and it is growing light speeds faster than any other brokerage model currently in the space. Currently, there are about 32,000 agents and growing quickly, going public on the NASDAQ in 2020, and they're making up ground on eXp currently as we sit here today. Number 3 is going to be LPT Realty, short for Listing Power Tools Realty. Now, Listing Power Tools has been around for quite some time, but they formed a brokerage a few years ago, and that is gaining some traction across America. But currently, they are not public because they're not large enough yet in order to do so, according to their own leadership, and so we'll see where they go from here. Fourth is going to be Epic Realty, EPIQUE, which is an up-and-coming brokerage that has several thousand agents across America, but again, looking to kind of figure out where their place stands amongst the other brokerages, and we'll see how that plays out. And fifth is going to be Realty of America, which is ROA, otherwise known as ROA, which is the one we're comparing against Real Broker today. This is the smallest cloud-based brokerage model currently in America that's looking to find their foothold on where they are going to land and how they're going to grow amongst the competition in this space. So let's break this all down right now between Real and ROA, Realty of America. Now, first, let me add just one little caveat, which is that you have to understand, and in a cloud-based revenue share brokerage model, you only have a certain number of people that can participate because you have to have a real estate license selling real estate. So you're talking a pie that's only so big. So it's not like other revenue share company models where you might be selling protein bottles, supplements, or shampoo, where technically anyone can do it because you don't need a license for that. This is a pie. A pie is only so big and will only get so big because you have to have a license to do so. And there's only about 1.4 million licensees in America as an example, so you have that captive audience. But I say all that to say that these companies can only grow to be a certain size. You're looking at Keller Williams, which is not a cloud-based brokerage model, but back in the 2010s, they grew to be the largest real estate brokerage in the world with 180,000 people working for the company. So we know there's room to grow a brokerage to that space because proof of concept is there. Keller Williams has already done it. But what's going to be the next real estate brokerage that will potentially reach that level? Again, because since then, Keller Williams, well, it is dropping in volume and agents because, frankly, that model is outdated. And by the way, all the other models that have to do with a franchise that have been around forever with royalty fees on top of their commission splits they charge their agents, those are dying breeds as well. And so I don't know why anybody would choose to go into that model at this time. Think Blockbuster versus Netflix, or maybe SEO versus artificial intelligence, which is the newer thing that's going to be taking hold in the economy. And that's what real estate brokerages are today, in my humble opinion. You're looking at traditional brick and mortar franchise brokerages versus the new cloud-based revenue share models that I think this is by far clearly the wave of the future for real estate brokerage. So now that we got that out of the way, let's dive into Real versus ROA and which may be the best fit for you. So we're gonna cover certain topics and dive in on these so you know exactly the differences between the two brokerages. We're gonna start with things like fees, commissions, and splits. Then we're gonna move to stock awards and then over to revenue share and the differences in the two programs, and then to training and education. And lastly, we'll end with technology. So we're starting off by talking fees, commissions, and caps on those commissions. And Realty of America and Real are very similar. Real's been around longer than Realty of America, and so it feels like ROA said, well, you know what? This seems to be working because it's the fastest growing brokerage, so let's do almost exactly the same. And you can't blame them. Why reinvent the wheel? If something is working really well that the marketplace determines is a good thing, why not just copy it and then, in their opinion, probably try to make it a little better? But are they doing that? That's where you do determine, and this video will help unlock some of those answers. So let's look at commission split. On the commission split, Real is 85-15, and ROA, well, it's 85-15 as well. And there's a cap with both companies on the commission cap. So commission cap Real is $12,000 for an individual, and ROA is a $14,000 cap. So right there you can see that Real is going to be a little bit cheaper when it comes to the commission cap. Next, let's go to monthly fees, and both companies are 0 across the board, which is really nice because, you know, if you're in a slump and maybe not closing as many deals that you would like, and you go 2, 3, 4 months without a closing, which does happen with some agents out there, you aren't getting hit for $100 or $150 that other cloud-based brokerage models actually will charge you in that example. Now, when it comes to an onboarding fee that you pay one time, Real is going to be $249 and ROA will be $199. Annual brokerage fee, Real is going to be $750, and guess what? So is ROA, $750 paid over the first 3 transactions for both companies. Then when it comes to E&O fees per deal, Real is going to be $40 for each transaction, whereas ROA will be $50 for each transaction on that. Now, when it comes to a personal transaction fee, Real is going to be $250. That's it. ROA is going to be $850 you got to pay if you want to sell your own house or buy a house for yourself. Now, for the after cap fees, these get a little interesting. On the after cap fee side, when it comes to a closing, Real is going to be $285 per closing for that after cap fee, whereas ROA is $250 for the first 20 transactions after you cap. Then after that, it goes down to $125 per transaction for the next 40 transactions of your anniversary year. And if you sell more than 60 transactions after you cap, then it goes to $75 per transaction, and there's no cap for that until you reset your next year. Now, on the flip side, we said Real was $285 per closing, but that is only on your next 21 closings. Why? Because after 21 closings, you will have paid $6,000 into Real in post-cap transaction fees, and that, my friends, gives you a huge bonus because you just hit elite agent status, and the company now pays you $16,000 in company stock at the end of that month. How cool is that? On ROA side, when you pay $250 per transaction for the next 20 transactions, you get nothing except a congratulations, the fee drops. On Real, you pay almost the exact same amount of money, but you get a stock bonus of $16,000 paid back to you, and your fees drop to $129 per closing until your anniversary year resets next. So in my opinion, there's no comparison on this one that Real is far superior than ROA. Now, will ROA change and come out with something in the future to compete? They might, but right now ROA is not publicly traded, and so if you do get a stock award, you have no idea what that really is worth because they have not IPO'd yet, and so we have no idea what the value of a share of stock will be with ROA. Will be $1, 50 cents, $10, $4, we just don't know. Whereas with Real, there is certainty because we know today by looking up the stock ticker on the NASDAQ where it is trading at, and so you have a good idea what that $16,000 bonus, as an example, is actually worth. Now, next, let's talk about stock awards when it comes to production awards, and then both companies have that as well as an attraction award where they issue stock for doing those two things. Let's focus first on production awards. Right now, with Real being around 32,000 agents, when you cap, you actually receive a bonus of 150 shares. On ROA side, when you cap, you receive a bonus of 500 shares. So clearly there's a lot more on the ROA side currently today. And ROA will actually bonus you 30 stock awards when you actually close your first deal of the year. Now, with ROA, when you actually close $200,000 of GCI for the year, you actually earn their legacy award and you are granted 1,000 shares of their ROA stock. So that's pretty cool. Now, on the other side, with the elite agent, Real doesn't do number of shares, they do dollar amount. So again, $16,000 when you earn the elite agent status is granted to you, and divided by about $4 a share, which it's trading currently around, that is 4,000 shares instead of just 1,000 shares. So a much bigger award on Real side if you are producing and selling a lot of real estate. Now let's move over to the attraction awards. On the attraction awards, both companies offer something for that. For Real, when you bring someone over to the company and they close their first transaction, you will be granted 75 shares of stock for saying thank you for bringing that person to the company. On the flip side, ROA, when you bring over one person, you are granted 400 shares of stock for the same thing. So both of these companies have RSUs. These share stocks are RSUs, restricted stock units. And what that means is for both these companies, there's a 3-year hold for all of these stock bonuses they are awarding to their agents. And I'll say one more thing, that Real did have a higher payout on some of these stock bonuses. Not the elite agent, that was always been $16,000, but when it comes to production and attraction awards, there were more shares given. As the company grows, there's a fine line between diluting the stock and granting bonuses to agents. So those did reduce as they hit certain milestones of agent count from 5,000 to 10,000 to 25,000, etc. But right now they're at a place where we're not told they will be going down in terms of the amount of shares they're offering anytime soon. So maybe that is over. I don't know for sure. But on the ROA side, they're offering more shares right now for a couple of reasons. Number one, their agent count is extremely low, like a couple thousand agents, and they're not even publicly traded yet. So we have no idea what this stock's going to actually come out at. But one thing that would make sense is the longer they go without going public and they keep issuing shares of stock over and over again to agents that are producing, that's going to dilute it a little bit. So I would assume that would drive the IPO price to be even lower and lower over time, the more time they take before they go IPO. Again, just an educated guess. I don't know if that's true. We'll see how that plays out. And quick sidebar, there are other two companies, the Epic and LPT, that say they're going to go public as well, that still haven't done it. And they've been talking about going public for years already, and it still hasn't happened. So maybe some of these companies never actually go public because they just don't gain enough traction to make it make sense, especially when you have that captive pie that's only so big with the amount of real estate agents out there in the marketplace. Oh, one more thing that Real offers that right now ROA does not, and that's a stock purchase program. Think of a 401k. With Real, before you cap, you can actually take 5% of your closing commission and use it to purchase Real stock. When you do that, the company will match that 10% of free money, company money, to pile on top of your already amount of money that you're going to use to buy Real stock for a bigger purchase of stock for you. Restriction time on the SPP is only 1 year, which is nice as well. Then after you cap, you can actually take 10% of your closing and the company will match that 15%. Again, company money, free money to buy Real stock, again, for you. Every agent with Real does receive a Morgan Stanley brokerage account. That this all happens behind the scenes. Company does it for you if you opt in to this SPP, the stock purchase program. Right now, I don't find any information that ROA offers anything like that at this current time. Okay, now let's move over to the next topic, which is the elephant in the room, which is the revenue share program. This could be a monster for an agent who wants to go out and attract agents to come to the company they choose to be at. Now with ROA, they have their program, Real has theirs, and they are different. Now you've seen my previous videos against EXP and Epic and LPT and how all those revenue share programs actually compare against each other's, and you can make the determination for yourself as to which one has the best payouts and is most lucrative. ROA, we're going to break this one down right now and compare it against Real's because frankly, spoiler alert, amongst all the other cloud-based brokerage models, Real's is the most lucrative compared to the other three. But is it as lucrative as ROA's? Let's dive in and find out. Now with Real, as you can see that it goes 5 levels deep, and with 5 levels deep, you have certain payouts on each level. And there are qualifiers in which you do need to have a certain amount of agents on your level 1 to be able to open up levels 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now what Real did that I thought is extremely smart is they looked at the nationwide statistics for any MLM company, no matter what product they're selling. And what you'll find is that the average person during their tenure of being with that company will only actually ever bring an average of 4.3 people over to the company during their tenure. That's it. Most people have grand ideas of bringing over hundreds or thousands of people to the company in their network, but it never really plans out that way. Again, the average agent. So if that's the case, Real knows its averages and said, well, if that's the case, we're going to give the highest payout to the people on line 1, because those are the people who might bring 4 or 5 people over, and we want to make sure they get the highest payout possible. So they put that highest payout on line 1. And if you look at Real's revenue share tree, it actually is very easy to understand. Why? Because it's a simple 5%, 4%, 3%, 2%, and 1% model as the lines go down. So picture a $10,000 commission check. If you have somebody in your line 1 that closed a deal for $10,000 on a gross commission check, it's very simple. What's 5% of 10,000? $500. So the very next month on the 15th, you will have $500 wired into your account. That is cash money and has nothing to do with stock or anything of that nature. The next level, 4%. 4% of 10,000 in this example would be $400. So someone in your line 2 close a deal, $10,000 gross commission. Then the very next month on the 15th, you get wired $400 for that person's production to your account. So again, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you'll notice that on each line, there are maximum amounts. You can see that Real's is $4,000, then it goes down $800 per level. $3,200, $2,400, $4, $16, and $800 down to line 5. So again, very easy to understand and know what your payouts could be. Now, if you compare that versus ROA's revenue share model, there is a lot of similarities, but a lot of differences. Let's point them out side by side right now. With ROAs, you can see that there's a 25% payout in line 1. So you're thinking, oh my goodness, 25% compared to 5% in real? ROA's way better. Well, no, that's not true. They make it look better on the optics, but it's not, and here's why. Again, with real, we talked about 5% being off the gross commission of $10,000 when that person closes a deal. Well, in that same example with ROA, you're talking 25% payout off the company dollar. So if you have the $10,000 payout, 15, 85, 15 split, right? 15% goes to the company. Well, 25% of $1,500, which is the 15%, actually only equals $375. So you're $125 less in line 1 than you are with real. But in their defense, for ROA, where it gets better is if you bring one agent in on line 1 and you get that $375 payout, and then they bring one person in on line 2, you actually, with only having one agent in your entire network, just one, if they bring someone in line 2, you get a small payout of 10% on their production. So if they both close a deal in the same month, you're talking a payout of $375 here and a payout of $150 here, because 10% of that $1,500 is $150 for a total of $525. So you actually make $25 more with ROA if you actually have this person that comes in with this person below it and they close a deal in the same month. Or you just bring in one person, not worry about them, what they do. Not that you don't want to, because of course you want them to multiply the network. But if they don't, and it's just one person, they close a deal, same hypothetical example, $10,000 commission check, it's just a straight $500 payout. You don't have to worry about someone else closing the deal below them that they bring over. But there's more, let's keep going. If you bring in 3 agents on your line 1, then you'll open up actually a payout that is smaller, but a payout nonetheless in lines 1, 2, and 3, 25%, 15%, and 5%. And then of course you sponsor 6, 25, 15, 10, and 2.5. And you can see so on and so forth, whereas you can open up all 5 lines if you have at least 9 agents in your network. But if you bring in 23 agents, you get a bigger payout on line 4 and 5. So all this can be very confusing, but if you look at the cap payouts right next to the end of the ROA matrix, you can see the caps on each line. And you can see that the payouts and caps on each line are less than reals. Line 1, you have 4,000 compared to 3,500. You have 3,200 compared to 2,100. You have 2,400 compared to 1,400. You have 1,400 compared to 700. You have 1,600 compared to 700. And you have 800 compared to 700. So all the way across the board, real is going to be a bigger payout. Now let's do the math on this, and let's assume that you have all 5 lines unlocked, and let's see what the full payout would be. Well, in reals, with the full caps of 4,000, 32, 24, etc., your full payout on one agent on all 5 lines would be $12,000. Whereas with ROA, when you add up all the caps on the lines, it's only $8,400. So again, the payouts are larger with Real Broker. And then ROA says they have infinite levels at the very bottom where you can make a 0.5%, which is cool if you ever get there. See, most agents will never even reach, let alone level 7. See, EXP has 7 levels, and did you know that out of a company of 80,000 plus agents, there are less than 100 that have ever hit level 7 in the entire history of the company. So it's very hard to do. So the infinite levels is great, going to level 8, 9, 10, 11, but most people, the vast majority of people, will never even come close to seeing that. Whereas with Real also has infinite levels, because if you co-sponsor with another agent with Real, then when you co-sponsor this one agent below you, that breaks off the 5 levels into its own network or set of another 5 levels that the co-sponsorship can actually go down. So you can actually have infinite levels that way too with Real if you structure it strategically. And one thing that no one talks about when it comes to revenue share is what's the total payout the company will pay to all the agents in the network that actually are deserving of revenue share payouts for any given month. You can see with LPT and with EXP, it's only 50% they pay out, and they retain the other 50% every single month. So if revenue share ends up being over 50% with EXP or LPT, well, everyone else's revenue share gets throttled down proportionally, which for a bigger earner, that could be thousands and thousands of dollars. But with Real and ROA, that max payout is 60%, and additional 10% they'll pay out to the agents and retain the right to reserve 40% in any given month to the company. So that could be huge, because a lot of times revenue share may be less than 60% for any given month for a company that is doing this type of model. Oh, and one more thing, Real just announced a production bonus, or qualifier if you will, for revenue share that ROA does not have. Meaning if you're focused on production more than actual agent attraction, then when you cap for the year, you automatically open lines 1, 2, and 3. Payouts start coming in. It's pretty cool, but it gets better because if you are producing and you actually hit elite agent status for the year, then Real will open up all 5 lines, all 5 levels automatically to receive payouts on anyone in those levels for you, just for selling a bunch of real estate and being a good real estate agent, because we have to keep the main thing. And that main thing is selling homes and helping clients. Now let's jump over to education and training. Both companies do a pretty good job of this. Real is incredible because Real incentivizes elite agents to actually train and coach in their Real Academy, that online training portal. And why this is so great is because I didn't mention to you that stock awards, well, you can actually earn an additional $8,000 on top of your $16,000 you earn as an elite agent if you teach in Real Academy 1 time a month for the entire year. So we're talking a class on whatever your superpower is in real estate, and you get on there for 30 to 60 minutes, 1 time a month, 12 months go by, you teach that class every month, $8,000 more of company stock in your account. Pretty cool. That's a total of $24,000 now of company stock just for hitting elite agent status. And Real is going to have 30 to 40 live trainings every single week across the country, taught by elite agents on whatever topic you could possibly think about. In addition to that, there are several masterminds that the top agents across Real actually teach on a weekly basis, same day, same time, every single week, so that you can pour into that if you would like. And everything's recorded, so you can go in and look at maybe a speaker or an agent that you really like and binge watch all their things, just like Netflix if you want. Now on the ROA side, they have an online training portal as well for their agents, and they do have live trainings. I don't know how many, but it can't be too many, not anywhere close to 30 or 40 a week, because they just don't have the manpower, the agents yet that are enrolled with this company. But they do have live training, and they do have recordation of a lot of these training classes that they do, as well as they do have a mentorship program as well for newer agents that pay a much higher split to the company in order to get that mentorship program. Okay, now let's hit technology real quick, because technology is incredible. And guys, Real is still the only company that has their own tech. They built their own tech, not white labeled, not a discount with another tech company that agents can use, which albeit could be really good tech, but it's not tech they own. Therefore, they can't pivot and build things that they want to build that are for the agent first, to make their lives and their businesses more efficient, and their clients as well. Now I can do a whole video on Real's new tech, because what they are building, guys, I'm telling you, is mind-blowing. The ARM they're coming out with right now is wild. They have no desire to build a CRM, but they do have a desire to build an ARM that is artificial intelligence that knows you, that is your voice, that speaks like you, in a closed ecosystem that's attached to your profile with Real, so they can service all your clients. Your clients talk to your AI when you're not available, or even when you are, and the AI delivers up to them exactly what they're looking for, from the best properties with the criteria exactly that they're looking for. With blue cabinets, if they like blue cabinets, it learns what they're looking at, and without the client even telling them, it will send them these properties from the best school districts, from the best areas with the most entertainment, if that's what they're looking for, walkability scores, all this stuff that someone can speak right into their specific portal that they have, will deliver on the results right to them. And that is all synced with an open API right to your profile, your CRM that you want to use. So all that stuff is recorded, so you know exactly how to best treat these leads or clients of yours. Oh, and by the way, did I tell you that they just announced that for every minute your clients interact with their ARM, Real is going to pay their agents $1 per minute. I mean, this is mind-blowing, but they're doing it because they want adaptability of the agents, and they want the AI to learn faster and faster, to separate the distance between them and all other technology and brokerages that are out there. How innovative is that? That's exciting. Not to mention, Real has the Real Wallet, Real Capital, where agents can give a line of credit and they can borrow money with clicks of a button from the company. Not to mention, they have basically an entire ecosystem of like a banking ecosystem where agents can have their money come into, pay with a debit card, have account management that they can do with the Profit First system, and points when they use their debit card attached to their Real Wallet that they can use to offset brokerage fees. All this stuff is happening with technology that they own, that they're building out to separate the distance between them and all other brokerages. And by the way, if they're successful doing this, Wall Street will reevaluate the company as a fintech company, not a real estate brokerage stock. And if that happens, look out, because fintech company stocks are a lot more valuable than real estate brokerage stocks. Now on the ROA side, don't know much about their technology, but they don't have their own technology. They have discounts and partnerships with companies like Real does too, with Real Scout and SkySlope and companies like this to help agents run their business. But in terms of their own proprietary software and technology that is anywhere remotely close to being as robust as Real's, they just don't have. Now they do have their own portal that agents can log in that tracks revenue share and tracks their commissions, it appears. But how robust that is right now, I don't know. I remember when I first joined Real a little over 3 years ago, the technology was actually a lot better than what I heard it was before, but it still had its bugs and its kinks when it comes to paying out agents and transaction management, etc. So anybody who has their own tech now is going to go through that growing and learning curve before getting to where Real is at today. So I hope this really helps you make a decision if Real is better or ROA, or maybe another one of the cloud-based brokerages. Check out my other videos at Authentic and Real Agents YouTube channel, and you can binge watch a lot of good information that I put on this channel over the last year or two that I've learned by just being in the trenches and talking with people on a daily and weekly basis. And if you'd like to talk to me about Real, call me at 480-660-5974. Check me out on Instagram at Kelly Cook Homes, or book a link on the calendar below. And if you want to check out some more information about Real and what it has to offer, go to growwithrealbrokerage.com.